Guten Tag, hello, and muli bwanji from Malawi. Indeed bueno, kaino. My name is Bip Nandi, and I'm a United Nations volunteer surgeon. I've been working in Malawi for 2.5 years now, but I very clearly remember the first day that I walked into Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital in Blantyre. I had taken the back entrance. The buildings were in a state of disrepair. A tree lay fallen in one of the corridors, having crashed through the roof. What had I done? How was I going to perform quality surgery in this kind of environment? My fear quickly went from relief to hope. Queen's is a very special place to work. Most days in the operating room, we start with some difficulty. Maybe no gloves, no gowns, no antibiotics, no blood, no instruments, sometimes no electricity, sometimes no water. But somehow, every day we manage. And it is in overcoming those difficulties that makes the job so rewarding and sometimes a little bit frustrating. There are negatives, but the positives are amazing. In pediatric surgery alone, last year, we completed over 500 major cases. This includes complex congenital abnormalities, children born without an anus, with ambiguous genitalia, with their bowels or their bladders on the outside, with cysts on their lungs, with abnormal connections in their heart, with facial abnormalities, with water on the brain, with spinal abnormalities. We have a moderate amount of trauma, and we also do some pretty large tumor surgery. Okay, not that large, but I've taken out tumors this big from children. I would like to tell you a story. I would like you to meet Mavuto. Mavuto is a friend of mine. Mavuto is 6 years old. I met Mavuto about 2 months ago. He had been playing outside his church when the wall collapsed, burying him under a pile of bricks. He was rushed to the ER at Queen's, fitting. And the pediatricians gave him some medicines to control the seizures. The incident happened at 11 o'clock. I saw him in the emergency room at 11. The clock was ticking. We rushed him to the MRI scanner. His skull had been smashed. A sizable piece of bone was poking into his brain, causing a blood clot, which was causing pressure. If we did not relieve this soon, the outcome was going to be catastrophic. We got him on the operating table. I started by drilling a hole. I have to use a hand drill. We don't have power tools in Queen's. And I gently leveraged up. That's leveraged in the neurosurgical sense of the word, not in the development sense of the word. And leveraged up the offending piece of bone, and underneath there was the blood clot. Cleaned out the blood clot, cauterized the bleeding point, and left in a tube, a drain, just in case there should be further bleeding over the next 24 hours. The next day, Mavuto was sitting up in bed, hungrily having his lunch, impatiently asking, when am I going to go home? I removed the drain from his brain, and I said to him, if all was well, his wish would be granted the next day. Mavuto in Chichewa means trouble. His mother reassures me that he has lived up to that name. Now, I wish I could say that's how it always happens. Unfortunately, most of our head injury patients arrive to us too late, and our systems are not responsive enough, and many of our children are left with permanent brain damage or even death. Many of our patients will wait for months on the ward waiting for an operation. Every now and then, it gets so bad, I personally find it a bit stressful. Week after week, going up to the parents and saying, I'm sorry, we didn't have time for your operation this week. We're going to try and do it next week. If not, we'll try the week after. And every couple of months, it gets so bad that we get together, a couple of us, and we persuade the team to come in on a weekend. We get 2 anesthetic clinical officers to keep the child asleep. We get a theatre nurse to organize the instruments and be my co-pilot. We have 2, what we call runners, get sutures, get drains, get patients. And then we have a recovery nurse, whose job it is to look after the children in one of the most vulnerable points of an anesthetic were just after the surgery. I get to handpick the team, and this is the A team. They are efficient and a joy to work with. And in that one day on a weekend, we will get through 5 or 6 major cases. The most amazing thing about this is it costs under 40 euros for me to get these guys in for a day. That's the price of 5 lives changed. And the added bonus, it's not just that the patients and the parents are happy, the staff love it. They are so underpaid, they're always saying, Dr. Nandi, when are you doing this again? We want to provide better care for our children, but we're overwhelmed. There's too many patients and there's not enough resources. And the main resource that we lack is the human resource. And that is why, as well as caring for our children, it's important that we improve the system in which we work. We make it more efficient, more safe, and more sustainable. Over the years recently, the medical school has been booming. Every year, there are more and more students following me around. Every 1 or 2 months, I'll go out to the districts, and I spend a couple of days training clinical officers. These are non-doctor grade health professionals, and we train them to do life-saving operations where it's needed the most, not in the big cities, but out there in the districts. And finally, we have our first Malawian trainee pediatric surgeon. Tia has a great attitude, she has an astute brain, and she has some very delicate hands. The future of pediatric surgery looks good in those hands. It's important that volunteering is more than just gap filling. We need to bring new energy and new ideas to improve the system in which we work. Volunteerism embodies the ability to learn from each other. UN Volunteers has left an indelible change in me. I hope that in some way that we together can make a change in children's surgery in Malawi. I would like to thank you all for listening, and from myself, from Mavuto, and from the children of Malawi, tuanana.